Welcome back to Mythic Slumber. Tonight we drift down the great dark river of time to the ancient land of Egypt, a kingdom of golden sand and sacred water. Here, eternity was not a hope, but a destination to be carefully prepared for. Find your most comfortable position, and let your breathing become as slow and steady as the Nile's gentle flood. We will unlock the secrets of the pharaohs and walk the silent golden path to the afterlife, letting the whispers of the ancient priests guide you toward a deep and restorative slumber. If this journey to the field of reeds brings you peace, a gentle light helps other weary souls find this timeless sanctuary. Our journey tonight begins with a slow and gentle drift, not just through time, but across a vast and silent landscape of the deepest and most profound peace. Let our awareness become as light and as free as a single high-flying falcon, soaring in the clear, warm and empty sky of a world that is very, very old. Below us lies the great and ancient land of Egypt, and we see from this high and serene vantage point that it is a world of a beautiful and simple duality. It is a world of two colours, two realities, two great and powerful presences that define all of life. The first is the Deshret, the Red Land. This is the great and endless ocean of the desert that surrounds and cradles the entire kingdom. Imagine it now. It is a landscape of profound and awesome silence, a world of soft red-gold sand dunes that rise and fall like the gentle sleeping breaths of a great and ancient beast. It is a world of stark and beautiful rock formations, carved by 1,000,000 years of patient wind into the shapes of sleeping giants and of forgotten temples. The air here is pure, dry, and so still that you can almost hear the soft, faint whisper of the turning of the stars in the night sky. The Red Land is a place of a deep and powerful emptiness, a vast and protective barrier that holds the world of Egypt in a safe and eternal embrace. And then, running through the very heart of this vast red-gold ocean of silence, there is a thin, precious, and miraculous ribbon of the most vibrant and impossible life. This is the Kemet, the Black Land. It is a long and winding valley, carved into the desert by the patient and artistic hand of time, and it is a place of the most lush, green, and fertile beauty. It is a living miracle, a testament to the second great and powerful presence in this ancient land, the great and sacred river that is the mother, the father, and the very soul of all of Egypt. This is the great river Nile. Let us now descend from the high, empty sky, our falcon wings folding, and let our awareness come to rest gently on the banks of this magnificent and holy river. The Nile is not a wild and chaotic waterway. It is a god, a gentle, predictable and benevolent deity named Hapi, whose source is a deep and sacred mystery, hidden in the unknown heartlands of the great African continent. For most of the year the river flows with a slow, calm and majestic grace. Its water is a deep and beautiful blue, reflecting the vast and cloudless sky above. Let us imagine ourselves sitting in the shade of a tall and graceful date palm on the river's edge. The air is warm and filled with the sweet honeyed scent of the lotus flowers that bloom in the shallows. We can see the tall green stalks of the papyrus reeds, their feathery heads nodding gently in a soft and almost imperceptible breeze. The only sound is the gentle, rhythmic and lapping whisper of the water as it moves against the dark, rich earth of the riverbank, and the distant, lonely cry of an ibis as it flies in a slow and graceful arc across the water. A simple wooden fishing boat, its single, tall, white sail as graceful as the wing of a bird, glides silently past, its passage a soft and gentle ripple on the otherwise placid surface of the water. This is the river in its season of calm, a great and peaceful artery that brings life and coolness and tranquility to the entire land. But the true secret of the Nile, the great and miraculous gift that it bestows upon its people, is not in its calm, but in its great and cyclical transformation. For the ancient Egyptians, time was not a straight and hurried line moving from the past to the future. Time was a circle, a great and repeating wheel, and the engine that turned this wheel was the river itself. Their entire lives, their entire world view, their very understanding of eternity, were all born from the slow, patient, and predictable rhythm of the Nile's three great seasons. Let us now rest here, in the warm and gentle air, and let us live through this great and sacred cycle, a single, perfect, and hypnotic year on the banks of the river of time. The year begins with the season of Akhet, the great and holy inundation. It begins with a sign in the heavens. The people watch the night sky, and they see the star Sirius, the brightest star in the sky, reappearing on the eastern horizon just before the dawn, after being hidden for 70 days. This is the divine and celestial signal. The miracle is about to begin, and then they watch the river itself, and they see that the water is beginning to change. The placid blue water begins to turn a deep and cloudy red, stained with the rich, fertile soil from the highlands of Ethiopia, 1,000 miles to the south. And then the river begins to rise. It is not a violent and terrifying flood, not a destructive and angry torrent. It is a slow, gentle, and utterly predictable swelling. Inch by inch, day by day, the great and sacred river rises, its red-brown waters spilling over its banks. The river continues to rise until the entire long, narrow valley of the Black Land is submerged. The world is transformed. The green and fertile fields are now gone, resting under a vast, calm and silent inland sea. The small villages, which have all been built on mounds of higher ground, now become small and peaceful islands in a great placid lake. And for the people of Egypt, this is not a time of fear or of loss. It is a time of rest, a time of celebration, a time of deep and patient waiting. The hard work of the fields is impossible, and so this is a time for other things. It is a time for storytelling, for music, for the quiet and patient work of mending tools and of weaving linen. It is a time when the entire world is being washed clean, a time when the land is being refertilized, rejuvenated, reborn. It is a great and gentle Sabbath for the earth itself. After many weeks, the great and silent flood reaches its peak, and then, just as slowly, just as gently, just as predictably as it arrived, the second season begins. This is the season of Pharaoh, the emergence. The great river begins its slow and graceful retreat. Day by day the water level falls and the land begins to reappear, and as it emerges from its long and watery slumber, it is covered in the Nile's great and miraculous gift, a thick, rich, dark, and perfectly fertile layer of black silt. This is the Black Land, the Kemet, from which the country takes its name. The air is now filled with a new and wonderful smell, the deep, rich, and loamy scent of the fresh, wet, and life-giving earth. And now, a new kind of work begins, a work of joyful and hopeful creation. The farmers of Egypt go out into their newly emerged fields. The soil is so soft, so fertile, that there is no need for the hard and heavy work of the plough. They simply walk through the soft, dark mud, casting the seeds of wheat and of barley from the baskets they carry. The work is a slow and rhythmic dance, a gesture of profound and simple trust between the people of their land. and after the seeds have been cast, they drive their livestock, their cattle, and their goats out into the fields, and the gentle plodding steps of the animals are enough to tread the precious seeds into the soft and welcoming earth. And then begins the third and final season of the great cycle. This is the season of Shemu, the harvest. The great river has now retreated completely, back to its calm and gentle, blue and placid self, and the fields, which were so recently a canvas of dark black mud, are now a vibrant and brilliant sea of the most intense and life-giving green. The warm, benevolent and ever-present Egyptian sun now pours down its golden and life-giving energy, and the crops grow with a speed and an abundance that is almost miraculous. The green fields slowly and gently turn to a pale and shimmering gold, and then the time for the great harvest arrives. The entire community works together, moving through the fields of tall, ripe grain in a single unified line. The air is filled with the soft, rhythmic and whispering swish of the simple, curved wooden sickles, a sound that is the very music of abundance. The people sing as they work, their songs simple, ancient and joyful, songs of thanks to the great and gentle river god who has once again bestowed his incredible and life-giving bounty upon them. The harvest is gathered, the great and golden wealth of the land, an abundance that is more than enough to feed the entire kingdom for another year. And with the harvest complete, the great and beautiful wheel of the year has come full circle. The land is now dry and waiting. The star Sirius is once again about to make its appearance in the pre-dawn sky, and the great and patient river is preparing to begin its sacred and life-giving flood once more. To live in such a world of such perfect, predictable and benevolent rhythm, is to have your soul shaped by the very idea of harmony, of order and of eternity. The Egyptians called this principle Ma'at. It is the idea that the universe is not a chaotic and random place, but a perfectly balanced, divinely ordered, and eternally repeating cycle of life. Their entire, magnificent and enduring civilization was built upon this single, simple, and profound idea. And it was this deep and abiding belief in a predictable and eternal order that would shape their view of their kings, of their gods, and of the beautiful and hopeful journey that they believed every soul must take into the quiet and eternal afterlife. The great sacred river Nile has taught its children a profound and beautiful lesson. It has shown them that the universe is not a chaotic and random place, but a world of a perfect, predictable and benevolent rhythm. The slow and gentle life-giving cycle of the flood, the emergence and the harvest has shaped the very soul of the Egyptian people, and has given them their most central and most cherished belief, the belief in Ma'at. Ma'at is the idea of a perfect cosmic order, of harmony, of justice, and of truth. It is the deep, quiet, and steady heartbeat of the universe, and to live in accordance with it is to live a life of peace and of balance. But this perfect and beautiful order, this gentle and harmonious song of the universe, is a fragile thing. For beyond the thin, green and life-filled ribbon of the black land, there lies the vast and silent emptiness of the red land, the great and endless desert. And this desert is the physical embodiment of the opposite of Ma'at. It is the embodiment of Isfet, the principle of chaos, of disorder, of sterility, and of death. And the ancient Egyptians believed that the forces of Isfet were always waiting, always pressing in at the edges of their perfect, ordered world, threatening to reclaim the black land and to return it to the silence and the emptiness of the desert. And so, they believed that they needed a champion. They needed a single, powerful and divinely appointed guardian to stand as the eternal defender of Ma'at, a human anchor for the harmony of the entire cosmos. They needed a figure whose very existence was a guarantee that the sun would continue to rise, that the Nile would continue to flood, and that the forces of chaos would be held forever at bay. This great and sacred champion, this divine shepherd of the people and of the world, was the king of Egypt, the Pharaoh. To understand the Pharaoh, we must understand that he was not seen as a mere man. He was a god. He possessed two bodies. The first was his mortal, human body, a simple vessel of flesh and of blood that was born and that would one day die like any other. But his second body was a divine and eternal one. It was the sacred office of the kingship itself. The Pharaoh was the living, breathing and walking embodiment of the great and majestic falcon god, Horus, the son of the first great king, Osiris. Horus was the god of the sky, of order, and of divine and rightful kingship. And as long as the living Horus was on the throne of Egypt, the world was in a state of balance and of peace. Let us imagine ourselves now standing in the great open courtyard of a magnificent temple, under the warm and brilliant light of the Egyptian sun. It is a day of a great and solemn festival, and the people of Egypt have gathered to see their king. A deep and reverent silence falls over the vast crowd, and then he appears. He moves with a slow, deliberate and deeply ritualized grace. He is not a man, he is a living icon, a perfect and beautiful symbol of divine power and of absolute peace. Upon his head he wears the shent, the magnificent double crown, its white conical top representing the kingdom of Upper Egypt, and its red, flared base representing the kingdom of the Nile Delta, the two lands now forever united in his person. In one hand, he holds the shepherd's crook, a symbol of his sacred duty to guide and to protect his people, and in the other hand, he holds the flail, a symbol of his power to provide them with the bounty of the harvest and to separate the righteous from the wicked. His chin bears a long, thin and perfectly plaited false beard, a symbol not of his own masculinity, but of the divine and eternal nature of the gods. He does not rush, he does not speak, he simply is, and his very presence, his perfect and centered stillness, seems to create a circle of profound and powerful calm around him. The people look upon him with a sense of deep and reassuring awe, for they see in him not just their king but the living guarantee of their entire world. He is the single, strong and beautiful pillar upon which the entire roof of their reality rests. As long as he is here, as long as he is in a state of health and of harmony, then the entire cosmos is also in a state of health and of harmony. When the Pharaoh enters the deep and shadowy inner sanctums of the great temples, a place where no common person is ever allowed to go, he goes there not as a humble servant to the gods, he goes there as an equal. For he is the only human being in all of Egypt who can speak directly with the great and powerful gods of the pantheon. When he performs the sacred and secret rituals, when he makes the offerings of incense and of food, it is not a mortal man asking for a favour. It is the god Horus, speaking with his father, Osiris, or with his uncle, the great sun god, Ra. He is the great and essential bridge between the world of the gods and the world of humanity, the main and sacred channel through which all divine grace, all protection, and all abundance flows down into the land of Egypt. But let us now leave the bright and public stage of the great temple courtyard and let us follow the Pharaoh back to the quiet and private world of his own palace. Let us imagine him at the end of a long day of these demanding and exhausting public ceremonies. He has retired to his own quiet and personal chambers. Here, the great and heavy double crown is gently lifted from his head. The sacred crook and flail are put away, and the divine god, Horus, once again becomes a simple, mortal man. We can imagine him sitting alone in the cool of the evening, perhaps on a balcony overlooking the gentle and majestic flow of the great river Nile, and we can feel the immense and quiet burden that he carries. To be a god is not an easy thing. To be the single, human pillar upon which the entire stability of the cosmos rests is a weight that is almost unimaginable. He feels, in his own quiet and weary heart, the constant and gentle tension of his two bodies, the eternal, divine and perfect body of the kingship, and the simple, fragile and mortal body of the man who must be its temporary home. He knows that he must live his own personal life in a state of perfect ma'at. For any personal failing, any moment of weakness, any sickness in his own mortal body could have a direct and catastrophic effect on the health of the entire land. His own body is not his own. It is the property of the state, of the people, of the gods. It is a sacred vessel, and he is its humble and devoted keeper. Let us think of him not as a king, but as a master gardener. His kingdom, the beautiful and fertile Black Land, is a magnificent and perfectly ordered garden, and all around this garden is the great and chaotic desert, the Red Land, which is always waiting to encroach, its hot and sterile sands always threatening to blow over the fertile soil. And the Pharaoh is the master gardener, the one whose constant, daily and ritualized work keeps the garden of order in a state of perfect and beautiful bloom. His laws are the strong and sturdy walls that he builds around his garden to protect it. His system of justice is the patient and necessary act of weeding, of removing the small and disruptive elements of chaos that can sometimes sprout within the perfect, ordered beds. And his great and sacred rituals, which he performs every single day in the temples, are the most important work of all. They are the act of watering the garden, of opening the great and sacred sluice gates that allow the divine and life-giving waters of the heavens to flow down and to nourish the land. This was the great and beautiful idea at the heart of the Egyptian civilization, and it was this idea that gave their world its incredible and enduring stability. For the individual man who was the Pharaoh was, of course, mortal. He would age, he would grow weak, and he would one day die. But the divine office of the Pharaoh was eternal. The divine kingship was a continuous and unbroken chain that stretched back to the very dawn of time. When the Pharaoh's mortal body finally fails, he is not truly gone. In death, he undergoes a great and final transformation. He merges with his divine father, the great god Osiris, and he himself becomes the new and eternal king of the underworld, the gentle and benevolent ruler of the afterlife. And in that very same moment, his own son, the heir to the throne, is instantly and magically filled with the divine spirit of Horus, and he becomes the new, living king, the new guardian of Ma'at on earth. The death of a king is not a moment of chaos or of crisis. It is a seamless, beautiful, and perfectly ordered transition. The great divine play continues, and a new actor simply steps into the sacred and eternal role. The king is dead. Long live the king. And it was to ensure the success of this single, crucial and eternal journey, the journey of the king, from the world of the living to the world of the gods, that the entire magnificent and mysterious art and science of the afterlife was created. The great and divine king, the living Horus, the Pharaoh, is the sacred and steady pillar upon which the entire cosmos rests. His life is a perfect and ritualized dance that maintains the harmony of the world. And his death is not an ending, but a beautiful and crucial transition, a journey from the world of the living to the eternal and silent kingdom of his father, Osiris. This journey is the single most important event in the great cyclical story of the Egyptian world. For if the king's journey is successful, then the divine chain of kingship remains unbroken, and the order of the universe, the great and gentle principle of Ma'at, is secure. To ensure the success of this sacred and perilous journey, great and powerful magic is needed. Promises must be made to the gods, protective spells must be cast, and a source of eternal and magical sustenance must be created for the king's soul, his Ka, to draw upon for all of eternity. But how does one create a promise that will last forever? How does one cast a spell whose power will not fade with the passing of the centuries and the millennia? A simple spoken word is a fragile and fleeting thing, as ephemeral as a puff of breath on the cold desert air. For a magic that is intended to last for all of eternity, an eternal and unchanging language is required. A language that is not spoken, but that is written. A language that the gods themselves can read. This is the sacred and silent language of the hieroglyphs. The ancient Egyptians did not call them hieroglyphs. They called them medunetja, the very words of the gods. Let us now leave the great and sun-drenched public spaces of the temples and the palaces, and let us enter a different kind of world, a quiet, sacred, and deeply focused space where this magical language is brought into being. We are now in a scriptorium, a silent and secluded chamber deep within a great temple complex, or perhaps we are in the deep, cool, and silent darkness of a tomb that is being prepared. Its walls a blank and waiting canvas of the purest, smoothest white limestone. Here a scribe is at work. He's not a simple clerk or a record keeper. He is a priest, a magician, a man who has spent his entire life in the deep and patient study of the thousands of sacred symbols that make up his holy and intricate art. He sits upon the floor, his back straight, his expression one of profound and absolute concentration. He's not merely writing, he's performing a sacred and creative ritual. Let us observe his simple and beautiful tools. Before him rests a small rectangular palette carved from a single piece of wood or of ivory. It has two small circular indentations, one holding a solid dry cake of the deepest black pigment made from the fine soot of a sacred fire, and the other a cake of a rich red-brown ochre made from the ground and purified earth of the desert itself. Beside the palette is a small clay pot of pure, clean water from the holy river Nile, and in his hand he holds his brush, a simple and elegant instrument made from the stem of a long and slender rush, its tip chewed to a soft and fibrous point. These are the humble tools with which he will create an eternal and magical reality. His work is slow, deliberate, and deeply meditative. He first dips his brush into the pot of clean water, and then he touches it to the dry cake of black pigment, his movements gentle and practiced, until the brush is charged with a rich and liquid ink. On the smooth white wall before him, faint and almost invisible guidelines have been drawn, creating a perfect and ordered grid. And now, he touches the tip of his brush to the wall, and the silent language of the gods begins to appear. His hand does not shake. His movements are full of a quiet and unwavering confidence that has been born from a lifetime of practice. He is not just forming letters, he is drawing small and perfect pictures, each one a tiny and beautiful work of art, each one a sleeping spell waiting to be activated by its own creation. Watch as he paints the beautiful, looped cross of the Ankh, the symbol of life itself. His brush moves in a single, fluid and unbroken line, a gesture as graceful and as practiced as a dancer's. And as this symbol is completed upon the wall, it is not just a picture. It is a powerful and active prayer, a magical act that is bestowing the very essence of eternal life upon the owner of this tomb. Next to it, he begins to form the intricate and sacred shape of a scarab beetle. He paints its hard, curved shell, its delicate, jointed legs. This is the great god, Khepri, the beetle who pushes the ball of the sun across the sky each day, a symbol of resurrection, of rebirth, of the glorious and certain hope of a new dawn after the darkness of the night. To paint this beetle is to ensure that the soul of the deceased will be reborn, just as the sun is reborn each and every morning. He then dips his brush in the red ochre, the colour that is used with the names of gods, or for words of special and sacred power, and he paints the single, open eye, the Ujat, the eye of the great falcon god, Horus. It is a symbol of perfect and all-seeing protection, a powerful and watchful guardian that will ward off all evil and all darkness from this sacred space. And below it, he paints the simple, beautiful and hypnotic zigzag pattern of 3 parallel lines, the symbol for water. By painting this, he's ensuring that the soul will never know the pain of thirst in the long and sometimes arduous journey through the afterlife. Every symbol is both a word and a world. The silent, forward-facing image of an owl is not just the letter M, it is the very essence of wisdom and of watchfulness in the night. The simple drawing of a seated man or a woman is not just a picture, it is the container of that person's identity, their eternal and unchanging self. To write a person's name in the sacred hieroglyphs is to make their soul eternal. For, as long as their name is written, they will not be forgotten, and as long as they are not forgotten, they will continue to exist. And so, the scribe continues his slow, patient, and magical work. The wall of the tomb begins to fill with these beautiful and powerful symbols, and it is not just a random collection of words. It is a living and intricate tapestry of magic. The figures of the birds, of the animals, and of the people that are drawn in the hieroglyphs are almost all shown in profile, and they are all facing in the same direction. They are a silent and magical army of symbols, and they are all marching in a single unified procession, a silent and eternal parade that is designed to lead the soul of the deceased on its journey from the entrance of the tomb towards the false door in the west, the symbolic gateway to the kingdom of the afterlife. The completed wall of a tomb chamber is one of the most beautiful and most peaceful sights in the entire ancient world. It is a world of perfect, silent, and eternal order. A great king is shown, forever seated before a table that is piled high with magical and painted offerings of bread, of wine, and of meat, a feast that he will never have to hunger for its very depiction will feed his soul for all of eternity. The great and powerful gods, Osiris, Isis, Anubis, are shown with their arms outstretched in a gesture of welcome and of protection, and all around them are the columns of the sacred and silent words, the prayers, the hymns, and the spells that will be the soul's eternal and unshakable shield against the darkness. To create this was the sacred and lifelong duty of the scribe. He was the weaver of reality, the magician who could build a permanent and beautiful and peaceful paradise with nothing more than some soot, some dirt, some water, and the deep and secret knowledge of the silent language of the gods. And this beautiful and powerful and magical language, these sleeping spells of stone and of paint, now needed a home. They needed a container, a house that was as strong, as perfect, and as eternal as the magic itself. They needed a house that was not built for the fleeting and temporary needs of the living, but for the profound and eternal needs of the soul on its long and beautiful journey into the forever. They needed a house of eternity, and for the greatest of all kings, this house would be the most magnificent and most ambitious structure ever conceived by the mind of man, the Great Pyramid. This sacred and silent language of the gods, the holy and magical hieroglyphs, have been perfected. The beautiful and powerful spells that will protect and sustain the soul of the divine king on his eternal journey are now ready to be written. But for a magic that is designed to last for all of eternity, an ordinary house will not do. A simple tomb dug into the earth is a fragile and temporary thing. For the greatest of all kings, for the living embodiment of the god Horus, a new and far more magnificent kind of home is required. It must be a house that is as strong and as permanent as the mountains themselves, a house that cannot be disturbed by the passing of the centuries or the millennia, a house that can touch the very heavens. It must be a great and eternal mountain of stone, a magnificent and perfect stairway to the stars. Let us now imagine the conception of this great and audacious dream, the Great Pyramid. We are in a quiet and sunlit chamber in the royal palace, overlooking the majestic and gentle flow of the Nile. The Pharaoh, the living god, sits in a state of deep and quiet contemplation. With him is his most trusted and most brilliant architect, a high priest, a man whose wisdom is as deep as the foundations of the earth. And together they are not designing a simple building. They are drawing a divine and sacred blueprint, a map of eternity, a great and powerful machine for the resurrection of a king. The shape they choose is not a random or a simple one. It is a form of the most profound and sacred significance. The pyramid, with its 4 triangular faces, is a physical manifestation of the slanting, life-giving rays of the great sun god, Ra, as they descend from the heavens to touch the earth. The entire structure is a great and permanent ramp of petrified sunlight, upon which the soul of the Pharaoh will ascend to take its rightful place among the undying stars in the northern sky. Its base is a perfect square, its 4 corners aligned with a divine and impossible precision to the 4 great cardinal points of the compass, the north, the south, the east, and the west. The pyramid is not just a building, it is an anchor, a great and powerful pin that fastens the entire spinning world of the earth to the calm, eternal and silent map of the heavens. And now the great and sacred work begins. It is a project of such immense and staggering scale that it will require the united and harmonious effort of the entire nation for 20 long and patient years. Let us not imagine this as a work of brutal and forced labour, not as the crack of a whip over the backs of miserable slaves. Let us imagine it instead as a great and collective national act of faith, a form of pilgrimage, a single, unified, and powerful prayer that is being offered up not in words, but in the sweat and the skill and the patient labour of a generation. The work takes place during the season of Akhet, the great and gentle inundation of the Nile. For 3 months of Every year, the fields of Egypt are sleeping under a vast and placid blanket of water, and the farmers, the strong and patient heart of the nation, are unable to work their land. And it is in this time of enforced rest that they are called to the great and sacred task. They come in the thousands in a great and joyful migration to lend their strength to the building of their God's eternal home. Imagine the great temporary cities of the workers that spring up on the Giza plateau in the shadow of the growing pyramid. They are not the miserable camps of a slave army. They are thriving and well-ordered communities with bakeries that produce thousands of loaves of fresh, wholesome bread each day, and breweries that create the rich and nourishing beer that is the lifeblood of the Egyptian worker. There are doctors to tend to the sick and the injured, and priests to perform the sacred rituals that will bless the work and protect the workers. It is a city of shared and noble purpose. Let us now watch and listen to the slow, rhythmic, and deeply hypnotic work of the construction itself. First, we must travel far to the south, to the great and ancient quarries of Aswan. Here, in the burning sun, skilled and patient quarrymen are releasing the great monolithic blocks of red granite that will be used to build the sacred chambers deep within the heart of the pyramid. They do not use great and powerful machines. They use simple tools and the patient and brilliant application of natural forces. They carve small holes in the granite, they fill them with wooden wedges, and then they soak the wedges with water. And the slow, gentle, and irresistible power of the expanding wood is enough to split the very bedrock of the earth. Imagine the great wooden barges on the Nile, each one carrying a single, massive, and perfectly cut block of this beautiful red flecked stone. The journey down the river is a slow and majestic procession, the barges moving with the gentle and steady current of the great river, their crews chanting a low, rhythmic and powerful song to keep their oar strokes in perfect and hypnotic time. And on the Giza plateau itself the work continues, a testament to the unwavering ambition of the pharaohs. The great 2.5-ton blocks of limestone that will form the main body of the pyramid are being meticulously quarried from the surrounding cliffs, their rough edges gradually smoothed by the skilled hands of countless labourers. And now begins the slow and patient journey of these colossal stones to their final resting place. A journey that will stretch over years, if not decades. A great ramp of earth and of rubble has been carefully constructed, a gently sloping road that will grow higher and higher as the pyramid itself ascends towards the heavens, a man-made mountain in the making. And up this ramp the great stone blocks are painstakingly dragged, each inch of progress a monumental effort. Let us feel the rhythm of this work, the ancient heartbeat of a civilization dedicated to the eternal. A great stone block is precisely placed on a sturdy wooden sledge, its immense weight settling with a dull thud. And a team of strong and disciplined men, their bodies honed by years of toil, takes up the thick ropes. Their leader, a figure of authority and experience, begins a low, rhythmic and hypnotic chant, a simple and powerful work song that echoes across the vast construction site, binding the men together. And on the precise beat of the chant the men pull, all together, as a single, unified body, their muscles straining in unison, and the great stone, its path perhaps lubricated by a little water poured on the earth before it, begins to move, slowly at first, then gaining a steady, relentless momentum. It is a slow, patient, and immensely powerful procession, a dance of human strength and of communal will, each step a victory against gravity and inertia. It is the steady and powerful heartbeat of the entire vast construction site, a sound that resonates with the sheer scale of their endeavour and the unwavering belief in the afterlife that fuels their monumental undertaking. And at the top of the growing pyramid, the master masons are waiting. These are the most skilled and respected of all the craftsmen, men who have inherited a tradition of stoneworking that is thousands of years old, and with a skill that is almost beyond our ability to comprehend, they fit these great and massive stones together with a precision so perfect that a single human hair cannot be inserted between them. It is the work of a watchmaker, performed on the scale of a mountain. And so, layer by patient layer, year by patient year, the great and sacred mountain of stone grows. It rises from the desert floor, a great and powerful and unshakable statement of faith and of permanence. It is a slow and beautiful blooming of a great geometric and stone flower. And then, after 20 long years of this patient and collective effort, the final and most sacred stone is ready to be put in place. It is the capstone, the pyramidion, a single smaller pyramid that will sit at the very apex of the great structure. It is perhaps covered in a sheet of pure gold or of electrum, a mixture of gold and of silver, and in a great and joyous and sacred ceremony, this final stone is hauled up to the top and is set in place, and as it settles, it catches the brilliant and powerful light of the Egyptian sun, and it shines, a brilliant and dazzling star of gold, a beacon that can be seen for miles around. And now, the final and most beautiful stage of the work begins. From the quarries at Tura, across the river, have come the finest and most beautiful pure white limestone, and the masons, starting from the top of the pyramid and working their way down, begin to fit this final casing of stone to the outside of the structure. As they work their way down, they polish the stone to a brilliant and dazzling sheen. And when they are finished, the pyramid is no longer a stepped and rugged structure. It is a perfect and seamless object of the most sublime and simple beauty. It is a single, unified, and magnificent mountain of pure, white, and dazzling light. Its 4 perfectly smooth faces reflecting the brilliant light of the sun, so bright that it is almost impossible to look upon. The work is complete. The great and sacred stairway to the stars now stands, ready and waiting. It is the most magnificent and most perfect and most enduring structure that the human race has ever created. It is a work of genius, of faith, and of a deep and profound harmony between a people, their king, and their gods. It is the ultimate house of eternity, and it now waits, in its silent and brilliant perfection, to receive the sacred body of the king and to begin its long and patient eternal work of guiding his soul on its final and most important journey into the silent and starry kingdom of the afterlife. The great and sacred mountain of stone is now complete. For 20 long and patient years, the entire nation has worked in a state of quiet and harmonious devotion to raise this magnificent stairway to the stars. The Great Pyramid now stands, a perfect and seamless wonder of the world, its 4 polished white limestone faces gleaming with a brilliant and dazzling light under the eternal, benevolent gaze of the Egyptian sun. It is the most perfect and the most permanent house that has ever been built. It is a machine for eternity, a great and silent prayer of stone and of light. And now its long and patient waiting is over. The time has come for its divine and royal occupant to come home. Let us imagine the day of the great and final funeral procession. It is not a day of loud and wailing grief, but one of a deep, solemn and reverent silence. A great and silent crowd of the people of Egypt lines the banks of the rumorous Nile, and on the water a magnificent and gilded funeral barge floats slowly, its progress as slow and as majestic as the river itself. Upon this barge rests the great and ornate sarcophagus of the Pharaoh, and as the barge comes to rest on the western bank, the land of the setting sun, the land of the dead, the sarcophagus is lifted and is carried in a slow and rhythmic procession up the great causeway that leads to the foot of the pyramid. The body of the king is taken inside, into the deep and quiet heart of the great stone mountain. The last sacred rituals are performed by the high priests. Their voices are low, resonant and hypnotic chant that echoes in the narrow stone passageways. And then, the final and most important act of all, a single, massive and perfectly cut block of granite is slowly and gently lowered into place, sealing the entrance to the pyramid's inner chambers forever. The sound of this great stone settling into its final resting place is not a loud and crashing sound. It is a deep, soft and final thud, a sound of absolute and profound finality. And with that sound, the world of the living, the world of noise, of change, and of the sun has been sealed away. The tomb is now its own separate and self-contained universe, a silent and eternal kingdom that will now remain undisturbed for thousands of years. Let us now allow our own awareness to do what no mortal from that time was ever allowed to do. Let us gently and peacefully pass through this great stone seal. We leave the world of light and of air behind, and we enter the cool, still, and profoundly silent world of the House of Eternity. We find ourselves in a long and narrow descending passageway, its walls and its ceiling made of the most perfectly fitted and polished stone. The air in here is cool, dry, and absolutely and completely still. It is an air that has not been stirred by a breath or by a breeze for 4,000 years. The silence is the first and most powerful thing that you notice. It is a silence that is deeper than any silence you have ever known. It is not an empty or a frightening silence. It is a silence that is full of a deep and patient and powerful presence. It is the silence of eternity itself, and it is a deeply and profoundly calming thing. Let us now drift, with a slow and effortless grace, down this long, dark and silent passage, our journey taking us deeper and deeper into the very heart of this great and sacred mountain. The passage opens up and we find ourselves in a small antechamber, the first of the sacred rooms that lead to the final burial chamber. And it is here that the true and breathtaking magic of the tomb is revealed. For the walls of this chamber are not bare stone. They are a vibrant and beautiful and colourful tapestry of the most intricate and lively paintings, their colours as fresh and as brilliant as if they were painted only yesterday. And we must understand that these are not just beautiful decorations. In the magical and sacred worldview of the ancient Egyptians, to paint a thing on the wall of a tomb was to make it eternally and magically real for the soul, the ka, of the deceased. Let us now drift slowly around this chamber and look upon these beautiful and magical paintings. One entire wall is dedicated to the great and eternal feast. We see a long and beautifully decorated table, and it is piled high with a magnificent and impossible abundance of food. There are great, round loaves of painted bread. Their crusts are perfect golden brown. There are tall and elegant jars of wine and of beer, their clay stoppers sealed and ready. There are great shimmering platters of roasted ducks and of geese, and baskets that are overflowing with the most beautiful and perfect painted fruits, deep purple figs, golden dates, and rich red pomegranates. To look upon this painting is to know that the soul of the king will never, ever feel the pangs of hunger for all of eternity. On another wall, we see the great and eternal wardrobe of the king. We see magnificent and ornate chests, and from them spill a river of the finest, whitest, and most perfectly pleated linen garments. We see beautiful and intricate collars of gold and of lapis lazuli, and heavy golden bracelets adorned with carnelian and with turquoise. The king's soul will be clothed in splendour and in beauty for all of time, and on another wall we see the silent and eternal servants, long graceful rows of painted figures, their faces serene and their hands ready. There are bakers and brewers, musicians and scribes, all of them frozen in a single, perfect and eternal moment of loyal and loving service. And now we drift through another low and silent doorway, and we enter the very heart of this silent and sacred kingdom. We are in the burial chamber itself. In the very centre of this perfectly square and beautifully proportioned room rests the great stone sarcophagus, its heavy lid perfectly in place, a silent and powerful guardian of the sacred sleep that is taking place within. But it is the walls of this chamber that hold the deepest and most beautiful magic of all. For these walls are a perfect and unchanging dream, a beautiful and eternal vision of the king's life as it will now be lived, forever, in the paradise of the afterlife. Let us float now, and let our gaze drift across these magnificent and living walls. On the western wall, the direction of the setting sun and the land of the dead, we see a great and beautiful agricultural scene. We see the king, but he is not a distant and divine god. He is dressed in the simple, white, linen kilt of a wealthy farmer, and he is overseeing the harvest in a field of the most impossibly tall and golden wheat. This is the field of reeds, the Egyptian paradise. The sun is a warm and gentle gold. The skies are perfect and cloudless blue. The work is not hard or tiring. It is a joyful and effortless gathering of an eternal and divine abundance. We drift to the northern wall, and the scene changes dramatically. We are now transported to a lush and vibrant papyrus marsh, teeming with life, on the fertile banks of the life-giving Nile River. Here, the revered king stands majestically on a small, exquisitely crafted skiff, its slender form gliding gracefully through the water. He is engaged in a hunt, but this is no ordinary pursuit of prey for sustenance or sport. It is a joyful and beautiful ballet, a harmonious dance between man and nature. He's surrounded by a mesmerizing cloud of beautiful and colourful birds, their wings a kaleidoscope of hues, flitting and soaring around him. His throwing stick, a symbol of his skill and power, is held firmly in his hand, a perfect and graceful extension of his own divine prowess. In front of him, on the very same boat, sits his cherished family, his beloved wife and his beloved children, their faces radiating a quiet and gentle joy that speaks of profound contentment. It is a perfect and eternal moment, captured for all time, depicting a happy, active and profoundly successful life, a testament to his reign and his devotion to his loved ones. And on the southern wall, a stark contrast unfolds, revealing a quiet and intimate scene that speaks of enduring love and profound peace. The king is depicted seated in a simple yet elegant chair, within the tranquil embrace of a beautiful walled garden, a sanctuary of serenity. Opposite him sits his beloved wife, the queen, her hand gently resting on his arm, a tender gesture that speaks volumes of their deep connection. They're engaged in a quiet and contemplative game of senet, a board game that transcends mere entertainment, for it is also a powerful symbol of the soul's arduous journey through the afterlife, a testament to their shared beliefs and their hope for an eternal union. It is a moment of deep, quiet, and eternal love, a peaceful and companionable silence that will now last forever, a testament to their unwavering devotion to each other. And then we are drawn to lift our gaze from the captivating narratives on the walls to the ceiling of this sacred chamber, and we see that it is not a ceiling of mere stone as one might expect. Instead, it is a perfect and breathtaking vision of the infinite night sky, a celestial masterpiece brought indoors. The entire ceiling is painted the deep and brilliant blue of the lapis lazuli stone, a precious gem whose colour perfectly mirrors the heavens at midnight, a boundless expanse of darkness. And upon this deep, mesmerising blue canvas are meticulously painted thousands of small, perfectly formed five-pointed stars, rendered in the most brilliant and beautiful gold, each one shimmering with an ethereal glow. To be in this room is to be enveloped in a perfect and self-contained cosmos, a universe unto itself. The king, therefore, is not buried deep under the earth, confined to its cold embrace. Instead, he is sleeping for all of eternity under his own personal and perfectly unchanging star-filled sky, eternally watched over by the celestial bodies, a divine slumber that transcends time and space. This is the great and beautiful magic of the House of Eternity. It is not a place of death, of decay, or of darkness. It is a perfect, sealed, and unchanging dream, a magical and self-sustaining engine that will nourish, protect, and sustain the soul of the king on its long and beautiful journey. It is a womb of rebirth, and now that this perfect and eternal vessel has been prepared and has been sealed, the final and most sacred and most mysterious of all the Egyptian rituals can now begin. The magical and holy transformation of the king's mortal body into a divine and eternal form. The great and silent House of Eternity now stands, its perfect white form a brilliant and dazzling mountain of light on the edge of the great red desert. Its inner chambers have been prepared, its walls covered in the beautiful and living language of the gods, a perfect and unchanging dream of a paradise that is now ready to be inhabited. The eternal vessel of stone and of magic is complete, but for the Pharaoh's soul, his immortal car, to be able to enjoy this perfect house and to journey on to the field of reeds, it requires an eternal anchor, a physical form that it can return to, a sacred vessel that is as perfect and as unchanging as the tomb itself. The mortal body, in its natural state, is a fragile and fleeting thing, a beautiful but temporary home for the spirit. And so, before the king can be laid to his final rest, his own physical form must undergo a great and final transformation. It must be made as eternal as the stars. Let us now leave the cool, dark and silent chambers of the pyramid, and let us travel to another, equally sacred but very different kind of place. We are in the Wabet, the pure place, a special and holy tent or a simple clean temple that has been erected on the west bank of the Nile, the land of the setting sun. The air here is warm, dry, and thick with the heavy, sweet and deeply calming scent of burning incense, of frankincense and of myrrh. It is a place of profound and reverent quiet, a sanctuary that is cut off from the noise and the hurry of the everyday world. The only sounds are the low, gentle and hypnotic murmur of priests chanting the ancient sacred texts and the soft whispering rustle of their clean and spotless white linen robes. The men who perform the sacred work in this place are not simple craftsmen. They are a special and highly trained order of priests, men who serve the great and ancient god, Anubis. Anubis is the god with the head of a gentle and watchful jackal, and he is the lord of the sacred land, the divine and gentle guide who takes the souls of the dead by the hand and leads them safely on their long and sometimes difficult journey through the underworld. He is a god of compassionate and quiet protection, and the chief priest in this sacred space wears a beautiful and stylized dark mask of the jackal god's head, not to inspire fear, but to show that it is not a mere mortal who is overseeing this holy work. It is the great god, Anubis himself, who is present, his divine and loving attention, ensuring that every action is performed with a perfect and sacred grace. Here, the body of the deceased Pharaoh, which has been brought from the palace, is laid upon a long stone table, and now begins the long and patient 70-day-long ritual that will transform this mortal vessel into a divine and eternal one. The priests move with a slow, deliberate, and deeply respectful grace. Every movement is a prayer, every touch is a blessing. The first step is a gentle and beautiful purification. The body is carefully and lovingly washed with the cool, life-giving water of the holy river Nile and with the sweet and fragrant wine of the palm tree. This is a ritual of cleansing, a washing away of the last lingering traces of the mortal and changing world, a preparation of the vessel for its new and sacred purpose. And then, the parts of the body that are the most ephemeral, the parts that are tied to the fleeting and temporary appetites of earthly life, must be gently removed and placed in their own special, sacred protection. Let us not see this as a harsh and clinical procedure. Let us imagine it as a quiet and respectful separation of the eternal from the temporary. The priests, with their deep and ancient knowledge, gently remove the inner organs, the seats of fleeting emotion and of earthly hunger. The only organ that is left in place is the heart, for the Egyptians believed that the heart was the seat of the intelligence, of the memory, and of the soul itself, and it would be needed for the final judgment in the afterlife. The other organs are carefully and lovingly preserved, and they are placed into 4 beautiful and sacred containers, the canopic jars, each one protected by one of the 4 divine sons of the god Horus. And now begins the longest and most mysterious part of the entire process. This is the great and sacred sleep. The body, now purified, is gently and completely covered in a great and deep pile of a natural and sacred salt, harvested from the dry and holy lake beds of the desert. This substance is called natron. Let us imagine the body being tucked into a soft, deep, and silent bed of this pure, white, and crystalline substance. For 40 long and patient days the vessel will rest here, in this sacred and silent embrace. The natron, with its powerful and magical properties, will gently and slowly draw away all of the moisture, all of the water, all of the very essence of fleeting, temporary, and mortal life from the body. It is a slow and silent process of purification and of preservation, a great and quiet alchemy that is turning the fragile and changeable flesh into a substance that is as dry, as pure, and as eternal as the desert itself. During these 40 days, the body is in a state of deep and sacred hibernation, a chrysalis of eternity, silently and patiently undergoing its profound and magical transformation. After the 40 days of this great silent sleeper complete, The body is removed from its bed of natron. It is now lighter, drier, and it has been permanently and peacefully preserved from all decay. And now, the final and most beautiful stage of the ritual begins, the great and sacred wrapping. The body is first anointed with a series of sweet-smelling and precious oils, their fragrant and holy perfume a final blessing from the gods. And then, the priests begin to wrap the body in linen. It is a slow, rhythmic, and deeply hypnotic process, meticulously performed under the soft glow of flickering oil lamps. They use hundreds and hundreds of yards of the finest and purest, white linen torn into long, narrow strips, each one carefully prepared. Let us imagine the scene. The low, chanting voices of the priests, echoing softly in the hallowed chamber, imbued with ancient prayers and blessings. The sweet and heavy scent of the incense and the oils, mingling to create an intoxicating aroma that permeates the air, designed to purify and consecrate. And the steady, repetitive and whisper-soft sound of the linen bandages as they are wound, with a practiced and loving care around the body. Each finger, each toe, is wrapped individually first, with the most delicate and focused attention, ensuring every part is honoured and protected for the journey ahead, and then the limbs, and then the torso, and then the head, until the entire body has been covered in many, many beautiful and intricate layers, each fold and overlap imbued with meaning and purpose, preparing the deceased for their eternal slumber and their awakening in the fields of Aru. This is not just a simple act of wrapping. It is a great and sacred weaving. The priests are weaving a new and eternal body for the king, a divine and perfect form of pure, white and magical linen. And as they work, they place small and powerful magical amulets within the layers of the wrapping. A beautiful green scarab beetle is placed over the heart to protect it and to ensure its rebirth. A golden ankh is placed at the throat to give the king the eternal breath of life, and the other sacred symbols are placed at key points on the body, each one a silent and powerful spell of protection, a small and eternal guardian that is now woven into the very fabric of the king's new and eternal form. Finally, after many long and patient days, the last linen strip is in place. The body is now a beautiful, serene and anonymous white form, a silent and powerful statue, a perfect and divine chrysalis, its outer shape a simple and peaceful echo of the human form that rests so safely within. And now for the final and most magical ritual of all. The great and sacred ceremony of the opening of the mouth. The completed and wrapped mummy is gently raised to an upright position, and the high priest, holding a sacred and specially shaped instrument, a ritual adze, approaches, and in a great and solemn silence he gently touches the mouth, the eyes, the nose, and the ears of the wrapped and silent form. This is not a physical act. It is a profound and powerful act of magical animation. With these gentle and ritualized touches, the priest is magically awakening the senses of the king's new and eternal body. He is giving the soul, the ka, the ability to once again see the beautiful paintings on the walls of its tomb, to hear the sacred and eternal chanting of the hymns, to smell the sweet and holy perfume of the incense, and to eat the magical and eternal food of the offerings. The sacred sleep is now over. The magical and holy transformation is complete. The fragile mortal body has now become a divine and eternal vessel, a permanent and imperishable home for the immortal soul. The sacred and beautiful chrysalis has been perfectly and lovingly woven, and now, This divine and eternal form is ready to be placed within its magnificent golden coffins and within the great stone sarcophagus in the heart of its eternal house. The physical preparation for eternity is finished. The great and mysterious journey of the soul is now ready to begin. The great and sacred work is now complete. The divine vessel of the Pharaoh's body, made eternal through the slow, patient and holy rituals of the priests of Anubis, now rests in its final, sacred sleep. It lies in the deep, quiet, and absolute stillness of its house of eternity, a magnificent and permanent anchor for the soul, a perfect and unchanging form to which the spirit can always return. The physical preparations for the great journey into the forever are finished, but the journey of the soul, the immortal car and the wandering bird-like bar has only just begun. Let us now imagine the spirit of the king as it gently separates from its now silent, physical form. It is not a moment of fear or of confusion. It is a quiet, natural and peaceful release, as gentle as a sleeping person's breath. The soul now finds itself standing on the threshold of a new and different world, at the entrance to the long and mysterious path that leads through the underworld, the Duat, to the final paradise of the field of reeds. This is a journey that every soul must take, a great and sacred pilgrimage through a landscape of shadow, of magic, and of judgment. It is a path that is full of great and powerful gods, of mysterious gateways, and of silent and watchful guardians. To make such a journey, the soul cannot go unprepared. It needs a guide, it needs a map, it needs a collection of the sacred and powerful words that will act as its passport, its protection, and its key to unlocking the secrets of this new and mysterious reality. And so the ancient and wise priests of Egypt created the most beautiful and the most reassuring of all their sacred texts. It was not a book of the dead, for they did not believe in a true and final death. It was the book of coming forth by day, a great and magical scroll that would be the soul's constant and most trusted companion on its long and beautiful journey home. Let us now imagine this magnificent and sacred object. It is not a heavy, leather-bound book with a dark and forbidding cover. It is a long, beautiful and delicate scroll of the finest papyrus. Imagine the scroll as it is being unrolled in a great and silent hall of the imagination. It is a continuous and beautiful river of a pale, creamy and honey-coloured paper, a paper that was made from the reeds of the holy river Nile itself. Its surface is smooth and its texture is fine, and as it unrolls, it reveals a world of the most intricate and beautiful art and of the most sacred and magical writing. The scroll is covered in long, neat and graceful columns of the holy hieroglyphs, their beautiful and intricate forms written by the patient and reverent hand of a master scribe. The black ink of the main text is clear and precise, and the names of the gods and the titles of the sacred spells are written in a deep and beautiful reddish-brown ochre. And woven in and among these columns of silent and magical words are the most beautiful and vibrant illustrations, small and perfect paintings, or vignettes that show the soul on its great and epic journey. We see the soul standing before the great gods, its heart weighed against the feather of Maat, seeking passage into the blessed fields. We see it kneeling in adoration of the rising sun, offering prayers as the first golden rays touch the eastern horizon, promising rebirth and new beginnings. We see it gliding peacefully on a small boat through a field of tall green reeds, the tranquil waters reflecting the endless blue sky, a serene journey through the afterlife's verdant landscapes. every image is a beautiful and reassuring promise of the peace and the safety that awaits, a divine blueprint for eternal serenity. This is the sacred map for the soul, and the words that are written upon it are not just words. They're living and powerful spells. They're gentle and reassuring hymns. They're the secret and holy passwords that will open all the closed doors of the afterlife. Let us now, in our minds, listen to the gentle, hypnotic, and rhythmic whisper of these sacred texts, as if a priest is chanting them for us in a low and soothing voice. First, there are the great and beautiful hymns to the gods. There is a long and magnificent hymn to the sun god, Ra, praising him as he rises in the east, a great and golden scarab beetle pushing the ball of the sun before him, bringing light and life and warmth to the world. To recite this hymn is to align the soul with the great and powerful creative force of the universe itself. And there is a gentle and loving hymn to Osiris, the quiet, green-faced, and benevolent king of the underworld, asking for his protection and his guidance through his silent and beautiful kingdom. And then there are the spells of transformation. These are the magical and liberating words that will give the soul the freedom to change its form, to become whatever it wishes to be in this new and fluid reality of the afterlife. Imagine the soft, chanting voice of the priest reciting the spell that will allow the soul to transform into a great and majestic falcon, with keen eyes and with powerful wings, so that it may soar through the heavens and look down upon the world of the living. And another spell that will allow the soul to transform into a beautiful and fragrant lotus flower, its petals closing at night and opening again with the morning sun, a perfect and beautiful symbol of eternal rebirth and of resurrection. And then there are the spells of passage. The journey through the Duat, the underworld, is a journey through a series of great and guarded gates, and each gate is protected by a powerful and sometimes fearsome-looking guardian. But these spells are the secret and sacred keys that will unlock every gate. The spell is not a weapon, it is a password. The soul, protected by the knowledge of the book, approaches the guardian and simply whispers its secret and true name. And the guardian, upon hearing its name spoken, is not defeated. It is satisfied, and it will gently and peacefully open the great gate and allow the soul to pass through on its journey. The journey through the underworld is not a battle. It is a test of knowledge, a test of wisdom, and at the heart of this sacred knowledge is the most powerful magic of all in the ancient Egyptian world, the magic of the true name. To know the true name of a being, whether it is a god or a demon, is to have a gentle and respectful power over it. The Book of the Dead is a great and sacred directory, providing the soul with the secret names of all the powerful beings it will meet on its journey. And with this knowledge, the soul has nothing to fear. It can walk with a quiet and serene confidence, knowing that it holds all the keys, that it understands the secret and fundamental language of this new and magical world. And so, the soul of the Pharaoh, his bright and bird-like Ba, is now perfectly and completely prepared. It has its eternal and beautiful physical form, the mummy, resting in its perfect and eternal house, the tomb. And now it has its sacred and infallible guide, this beautiful and magical scroll, this map of the soul, this book of coming forth by day. The soul is not afraid, it is not confused, it is filled with a deep and quiet and profound sense of purpose. It is a divine and holy traveller, fully equipped with all the knowledge and all the magic it will need for the great and beautiful journey that lies ahead. And now it is ready to take the first step. It is ready to board the great and silent golden sun boat of the god Ra, and to begin its long and peaceful nightly voyage through the dark, silent and wondrous landscapes of the Duat. The sacred texts of Egypt are a deep and endless river of mystery. If there is another aspect of this ancient world, be it a particular god, a legendary queen, or the story of the pyramids themselves, that you would like to explore in a future slumber, you may whisper its name in the comments below. Your curiosity often illuminates the path on our journey through time. The sacred and magical preparations are now complete. The eternal body of the king, his divine and unchanging vessel, rests in its perfect and silent house of eternity, wrapped in a holy and protective chrysalis of pure white linen. And the king's soul, his bright and immortal spirit, is now fully equipped with its own sacred and infallible guide, the beautiful and powerful scroll of the Book of Coming Forth by Day. The soul is not afraid, it is not lost or confused. It is a calm, prepared, and purposeful traveller, standing now on a quiet and distant shore, at the very edge of the world of the living, waiting to begin the greatest and most important journey of all. Let us now imagine this moment of transition. The sun in the world of the living is beginning to set. The great golden disk of the god Ra is touching the western horizon, painting the sky in the beautiful and sorrowful colours of a final farewell. And as the sun sets, a great and magical gateway opens, a door between the worlds. And it is here, on the western bank of a great and celestial river that mirrors the earthly Nile, that the soul of the Pharaoh now stands and waits. And as the last brilliant sliver of the sun disappears from the world of the living, a magnificent and beautiful vessel comes gliding into view, its hull cutting silently through the still, dark and star-filled waters of this cosmic river. This is the great sun boat of Ra, the Manjet, the barge of 1,000,000 years. It is not a ship of simple wood and of sail. It is a vessel of pure and beaten gold, and it glows with a soft, warm and gentle light of its own, a beautiful and reassuring beacon in the growing twilight. At its prow stands the great sun god, Ra himself. In this evening hour he has the form of a wise and ancient ram-headed man, his body weary from the long and difficult work of carrying the sun across the sky all day. And he is not alone. He is accompanied by a silent and powerful retinue of the greatest and most trusted of the gods. There is Thoth, the wise and ibis-headed god of magic, of writing and of knowledge, his hands holding a scribe's palette, ready to record all that will happen on this sacred journey. And there is Maat herself, the beautiful and serene goddess of truth and of cosmic harmony, her head crowned with a single pure white ostrich feather, her very presence a powerful and protective shield of order. And as this great and silent golden boat comes to rest at the shore, this soul of the Pharaoh is welcomed aboard. He is not a humble passenger. He is an honoured member of the crew, a divine being joining his fellow gods for their nightly and most sacred of all duties. The great boat then turns, and with a slow, silent and graceful motion, it passes through the great stone pylons of the western gate, leaving the world of the living behind and entering the dark, silent and mysterious realm of the Duat, the Egyptian underworld. The Duat is not a place of fire and of torment. It is a long, quiet and winding river valley that runs through the very heart of the deep and silent earth. It is a world of a deep and profound velvety darkness, a world of an absolute and calming silence. It is the womb of the night, the place where the sun must travel in order to be reborn, and the path that every soul must take on its journey towards the paradise of the field of reeds. The only light in this world is the soft, warm and golden glow that radiates from the sun boat itself, a gentle and moving island of light that illuminates the still, dark water of the river and the strange, shadowy landscapes that lie on its banks. As the sun boat glides onward, the air itself seems to shimmer with ancient secrets, whispering tales of pharaohs long past and deities who guard the cosmic order. The river, a mirror to the velvet night, reflects not stars, but the golden aura of the divine vessel, each ripple a silent prayer for safe passage. On the shadowed shores, colossal, unseen figures stand vigil, their forms barely discernible against the inky backdrop, their purpose known only to the truly departed. These are the guardians of the Duat, entities of immense power, whose gazes follow the sunboat's journey, ensuring that the sacred rites are observed and the balance of the afterlife maintained. The silence is occasionally broken by the distant ethereal strains of a mournful harp, a melody carried on the currents of the unseen winds, a lullaby for the journeying soul promising peace and rebirth at the end of the long dark voyage. The journey is divided into 12 hours, each hour a different region of the underworld, with its own unique inhabitants and its own silent and mysterious wonders. Let us now drift with the boat as it makes its slow and majestic progress through these first quiet hours of the night. The boat moves with a slow and hypnotic rhythm, its passage so smooth and so silent that it feels as if we're not moving at all, but that the shadowy landscapes are simply flowing past us. On the banks of the dark river, we see the souls of the blessed dead, the ones who have already successfully passed their judgment. They come to the water's edge as the golden boat of Ra passes, and they lift their voices, not in a loud and boisterous cheer, but in a soft, whisper-like and beautiful chorus of praise and of adoration. It is a sound that is as gentle and as rustling as the wind in the papyrus reeds, a sound of pure and simple gratitude for the light and the life that the sun god brings, even here in the heart of the deepest darkness. The boat glides on into the deeper and more mysterious hours of the night. The landscapes become stranger, more dreamlike. We pass through a silent and sandy region that is populated by great and silent serpents that spit not fire, but a gentle and illuminating light from their mouths, their bodies the only source of light for the souls who inhabit this particular realm. We see the great and sacred mounds of earth that are the tombs of the gods themselves, each one guarded by a silent and powerful deity. The soul of the Pharaoh, protected by the company of the gods and guided by the knowledge of his sacred book, looks upon all of these wonders with a sense of quiet and profound awe. And then, as the boat enters the deepest and darkest hour of the night, the great challenge of the journey appears. For the Duat is not just the land of the gods, it is also the home of the great and terrible embodiment of chaos itself, the great and monstrous serpent, Apep. Apep is a creature of pure and unmaking darkness, his purpose to swallow the golden sunboat and to return the entire universe to the state of eternal and undifferentiated blackness that existed before creation. Let us not imagine Apep as a simple physical monster. Let us imagine him as a great and formless shadow, a vast and silent wave of pure cosmic doubt that rises from the depths of the dark river. It is the embodiment of all chaos, of all disorder, of all that is against the perfect and beautiful principle of Ma'at. And as this great and silent shadow begins to coil around the small and fragile sunboat, the great and magical battle begins. It is not a battle of sword and of spear. It is a battle of magic, a battle of sacred words. The gods on the boat and the soul of the Pharaoh with them now stand and begin to chant the powerful and protective spells from the sacred books. Their voices weave together into a single, powerful and resonant chord of pure and ordered sound. They are creating a shield of pure and sacred vibration, and the soul of the Pharaoh, using the knowledge from its own Book of the Dead, calls out the secret and true names of the shadow, and in doing so it gains a gentle and powerful mastery over it. The light of the golden boat intensifies, and the sacred chanted words become like ropes of pure and luminous energy, binding the great shadow, preventing it from touching the holy vessel. And the great shadow of Apep does not roar in a great and terrible agony. It simply dissolves. It recedes back into the deep and silent waters, its form unmade, its power broken by the greater and more beautiful power of divine and cosmic order. The great challenge has been passed, and now the golden boat can proceed to the deepest and most sacred part of its entire nightly journey. It is here, in the very womb of the night, that the great mystery of cosmic renewal takes place. The great sun god, Ra, the old and weary ram-headed god, now merges his own spirit with the spirit of the great king of the underworld, Osiris. And in this magical and silent and beautiful union, Ra is reborn. The old and weary god dies, and from his death, a new and vibrant and youthful sun god is born. He now takes the form of Khepri, the great and sacred scarab beetle, a symbol of new life and of resurrection. The soul of the Pharaoh has now been a witness to the greatest and most secret of all the divine mysteries, and in witnessing this act of cosmic rebirth, the soul itself has been magically renewed and rejuvenated. The long and silent and magical journey is now almost over. The golden sun boat, now carrying the new and infant sun, the promise of a new day, approaches the great and final gateway, the eastern gate of the underworld. The deep and velvety darkness of the Duat is beginning to fade, and ahead a faint, pale, and rosy light can be seen. It is the first gentle breath of the coming dawn. The soul of the Pharaoh has been protected, it has been tested, and it has been reborn. It has travelled through the great and beautiful mystery of the night, and it has come out into the light once more. And it is now ready to face the final and most important moment of its entire, long and eternal journey. It is now ready to enter the great and silent hall of two truths, and to stand before the gods of judgment, where its own heart will be weighed in the balance. The long and beautiful and magical journey through the night is now complete. The golden sun boat of Ra, carrying the newborn and rejuvenated morning sun, has passed through the final eastern gate of the Duat. The great and formless shadow of chaos has been vanquished by the sacred power of light and of order, and the soul of the Pharaoh, a welcome and honoured passenger, has been a witness to the profound and eternal mystery of cosmic rebirth. The world of the living is now awakening to a new day, and the soul, now itself renewed and purified by its long nocturnal voyage, has arrived at the threshold of its own eternal dawn. Let us now imagine the soul, the bright and bird-like Ba, stepping from the deck of the golden boat. It finds itself not in the familiar earthly landscape of the Nile Valley, but in a place that exists outside of time, a great and silent antechamber to eternity. Before the soul lies a pair of magnificent towering doors, and as it approaches, these great doors swing open slowly, silently, and of their own accord, revealing the great and sacred hall of two truths, the place of the final judgment. Let us now enter this magnificent and awe-inspiring hall. It is a place of the most perfect and profound and absolute silence. It is a vast, long, and perfectly symmetrical chamber, its ceiling so high that it is lost in a soft and gentle shadowless gloom. The floor is made of a dark, polished stone that is as smooth and as reflective as the surface of a still and silent lake at midnight. Two long, perfect rows of massive, beautifully carved pillars line the central aisle, their surfaces covered in the silent, sacred language of the hieroglyphs, hymns of praise to the great gods of judgment. The air in this place is cool, still, and pure, and it seems to vibrate with the sense of immense, ancient, and impartial holiness. This is not a courtroom. It is a sanctuary of cosmic balance. Lining the walls of this great hall are the 42 divine assessors, the silent and watchful guardians of Ma'at. They are not a terrifying and accusatory jury. They are serene and majestic divine beings, each one a protector of a different aspect of cosmic harmony. They sit motionless on their simple stone thrones, their faces calm, impassive, and full of an ancient and quiet wisdom. Their presence is not one of menace, but of a deep and reassuring stillness. And now the soul of the Pharaoh begins its final purification, its last formal declaration of its own purity. This is the great and sacred negative confession. The soul, standing in the centre of the vast and silent hall, begins to speak. Its voice is not a loud and fearful plea for mercy. It is a calm, quiet, and clear recitation, a gentle and rhythmic chant that is full of a deep and humble confidence. And as the soul speaks, it addresses each of the 42 divine assessors in turn. We can imagine the soft and melodic sound of its voice as it echoes gently in the great silent space. "I have not caused sorrow," it begins, its voice a soft and gentle whisper. "I have not raised my hand against the weak. I have not stolen the offerings from the temples of the gods. I have not spoken with a false tongue. I have not made any person to weep." The litany continues, a beautiful and poetic declaration of a life that was lived in a state of gentle and harmonious balance. "I have not been deaf to the words of truth. I have not been angry without a just cause. I have not polluted the waters of the sacred river. I have not taken the milk from the mouths of children. I am pure, I am pure, I am pure." When this long and beautiful and purifying confession is complete, a new and even deeper silence falls upon the great hall. The time for the final and most important moment of all has now arrived. The soul moves forward, down the long central aisle, and it comes to the very heart of the chamber. And here, in the centre of the hall, stands a great and magnificent pair of golden scales. They are a work of the most perfect and delicate and beautiful craftsmanship, their great horizontal beam balanced so perfectly upon a single, slender fulcrum that it seems to be floating in the still and silent air. And here, the great god Anubis, the gentle and merciful guide of the dead, is waiting. He is not a fearsome judge. He is the quiet and sacred master of this holy ceremony. His movements are slow, graceful, and full of a deep and loving reverence. He approaches the soul of the Pharaoh, and with a most gentle of all possible touches, he reaches into its spiritual form and he takes from it its heart. It is the real and true heart of the king, this small and humble vessel that has carried all the thoughts, all the feelings, all the intentions, and all the deeds of his entire earthly life. Anubis takes this heart, and with a slow and deliberate grace, he places it upon one of the great golden pans of the scale, and then the great and beautiful goddess, Maat herself, the very embodiment of truth, of order, and of cosmic harmony, steps forward. She reaches up to the beautiful, single, pure white ostrich feather that she wears in her hair. She plucks this single, beautiful, and almost weightless feather, and with an equal grace she places it upon the other, empty pan of the golden scale. And now the moment of judgment has come. The entire hall, all the 42 assessors, all the great gods who are present, all hold a single, collective, and silent divine breath. There is no sound. There is no movement. There is only this single, beautiful, and profoundly simple question. Does the heart of the king, with all the accumulated weight of its long and mortal life, balance with the single, light, and almost weightless feather of pure and divine truth? The great golden scales begin to move. The beam sways, ever so slightly, a slow and graceful as almost imperceptible dance as it seeks its final and eternal point of balance. The moment seems to stretch into an eternity, a long and profound and timeless pause in the very heartbeat of the cosmos, and then it comes to a rest, and the two great golden pans are in a state of perfect and unwavering equilibrium. The heart of the Pharaoh, a heart that has been the home of a life that was lived in a true and just and harmonious way, weighs exactly the same as the single, beautiful, and almost weightless feather of Maat. A soft and gentle sigh of satisfaction seems to pass through the great and silent hall. The soul has been judged, and it has been found to be pure. The great ibis-headed god, Thoth, the divine and sacred scribe, now steps forward. He dips his rush pen into his palette, and on a new and clean roll of papyrus he records the just and righteous verdict. The soul of the Pharaoh is now declared Makeru, the true of voice, a title of the highest and most sacred honour. The great and final test is over, and now the divine son, the great falcon god, Horus, appears. He takes the justified and triumphant soul of his father by the hand, and with a gentle and loving grace he leads it forward towards the far end of the great hall. And there, seated upon a magnificent and ancient throne of the purest, blackest obsidian, is the great and benevolent king of the afterlife himself, the god Osiris. He sits in a state of perfect and serene stillness, his green skin a symbol of rebirth and of resurrection, his hands holding the sacred crook and flail of his own divine kingship. And his face is not the face of a stern and unforgiving judge. It is the face of a kind and gentle and loving father, waiting to welcome his own beloved son home. The soul of the Pharaoh has passed through the darkness. It has been judged, and it has been found worthy. It has now earned its eternal and rightful place in the perfect and beautiful paradise of the Field of Reeds. The great and final judgment has been made. In the vast, silent and holy hall of two truths, the heart of the Pharaoh, the vessel of his earthly life, has been weighed on the great golden scales, and it has been found to be as light and as pure as the single, white feather of Maat, the very embodiment of truth and of cosmic harmony. The verdict has been recorded by the divine scribe Thoth, and the soul of the king, now declared the true of voice, has been led by his son, the great god Horus, to be welcomed into the loving and eternal embrace of Osiris, the benevolent king of the afterlife. For this soul, the path to paradise is now clear and open. But let us pause here for a quiet and contemplative moment in the deep and eternal stillness of this sacred hall. let us ask a gentle and quiet question. What if? What if a heart was not so pure? What if a soul arrived in this hall of judgment, heavy with the weight of a life that was lived not in harmony, but in discord? What was the fate of a heart that was heavier than the single, light and beautiful feather of truth? The ancient Egyptians, in their deep and profound wisdom, did not see the world in the simple and harsh terms of good and of evil. They saw the world as a constant and delicate dance between harmony and chaos, between Ma'at and Isfet. And their vision of the afterlife was not one of eternal reward and of eternal punishment, but one of a final and perfect restoration of the cosmic balance. And so, waiting patiently and silently beside the great golden scales, there is another divine and sacred presence. Let us turn our gentle and unafraid gaze upon her now. The ancient texts call her Amit, the devourer of the dead. But let us see her not as a monster, but as a great, quiet, and necessary guardian of the universal peace. She has the head of a crocodile, the powerful forequarters of a lion, and the great, strong hindquarters of a hippopotamus. She's a being that is composed of the three most powerful and most feared creatures of the Egyptian world, and yet she is not a creature of terror. Imagine her now, as she waits. She's not drooling or hungry. Her eyes are not filled with a malevolent fire. She rests upon the cool stone floor of the great hall in a state of absolute and perfect stillness, a statue of pure and concentrated power held in a state of deep and patient calm. Her presence is not one of menace, but of a profound and unshakable seriousness. She is the guardian of cosmic balance, the great absolver of disharmony, and her sacred duty is the most important and the most merciful in all of the Duat. Let us now imagine a different heart being placed upon the scales, a heart that is heavy with the memory of anger, of greed, of dishonesty. A heart that is burdened by the chaos of a life that was lived out of tune with the gentle and beautiful music of Ma'at. And we watch as the great golden scales make their slow and graceful silent dance. But this time, they do not come to a state of perfect and beautiful equilibrium. The pan that holds the single, white feather of truth rises high into the air, and the pan that holds the heavy heart of discord sinks slowly, silently, and sorrowfully down. The soul has been judged, and it has been found to be out of balance. There is no great and angry pronouncement from the gods. There is only a deep and profound silence, a silence that is filled with a gentle and cosmic sadness. And now, the great and silent guardian, Amit, begins to stir. She rises from her resting place, not with a sudden and terrifying leap, but with a slow, deliberate, and graceful power. She approaches the great golden scales, her movements silent on the polished stone floor. She does not leap upon the heavy heart and devour it in a furious and violent rage. The process is far more quiet, more mysterious, and more profound than that. She gently and respectfully bows her great and powerful head, and she accepts the heavy heart from the golden pan. Her great and powerful jaws close over it, not with a vicious and angry snap, but with a slow, gentle, and final firmness. And the heart is not torn or shredded. It simply ceases to be. It is unmade. It dissolves in a single, quiet, and instantaneous moment of pure and absolute oblivion. And as the heart, the vessel of the individual consciousness, is unmade, the soul that is connected to it, the car and the bar, also begins to gently and peacefully dissolve. Let us not imagine this as a moment of pain or of terror. It is a process of the most gentle and the most merciful release. Imagine a shape made of mist, a beautiful and intricate form that is held together for a time, and then, as the sun of a new morning rises, it simply and quietly dissolves, its substance returning to the formless, invisible air from which it came. Or imagine a single, dissonant and sorrowful note of music that has been played, and that now hangs in the air for a moment, before it fades and is reabsorbed back into the great and eternal silence that was there before it. This is the second death. It is not a punishment. It is a profound and necessary act of cosmic healing. For a soul that is so deeply out of tune with the harmony of the universe could not exist in the perfect and beautiful paradise of the Field of Reeds. It would be in a state of constant and eternal suffering. And so, the universe, in its deep and infinite mercy, offers this soul a final and gentle gift, the gift of a quiet unmaking, the gift of a return to the great and silent nothingness that existed before creation. The individual consciousness, with all its memories of sorrow and of discord, is gently and lovingly erased. The discordant energy is not destroyed. It is simply returned to the great and neutral ocean of cosmic potential, where it can one day, perhaps, be used again to create a new and more harmonious song. This is the great and sacred duty of the beautiful and terrible and necessary guardian, Amit. She is the final and merciful filter that ensures that only the purest and most beautiful and most harmonious of all energies can pass through the gates of the underworld and into the eternal paradise. She is the guardian who protects the perfection of the afterlife. Her quiet and necessary work is now done. The single, discordant note has been resolved back into the great and silent symphony. The cosmic balance has been restored, and now, with this deep and quiet understanding of the gentle and profound wisdom of the Egyptian soul, we can leave this gentle and philosophical digression behind. We can leave the Hall of Two Truths, its great and silent work now complete, and we can return our attention to our own pure-hearted Pharaoh, the soul whose heart was as light as a feather, the soul who has passed the great and final test, and who is now ready, at last, to enter the magnificent, peaceful and eternal paradise that awaits him. The beautiful and blissful Field of Reeds. The great and silent judgment is complete. The soul of the Pharaoh, his heart as light and as pure as the single white feather of truth, now stands before the magnificent and ancient throne of Osiris, the benevolent and eternal king of the afterlife. Horus, the divine son, presents his father, the justified king, and Osiris, the lord of the silent land, gives a slow and gentle nod of welcome. The final and greatest of all the gateways now swings open, not into a dark and mysterious passage, but into a world of the most soft, gentle, and eternal golden light. The soul of the king has passed every test. It has been judged and found worthy, and it now steps across the final threshold, out of the world of trial and of shadow, and into the magnificent and everlasting paradise of the Field of Reeds. Let us now allow our own awareness to step with him into this perfect and beautiful place. It is a world of the most profound and gentle and unwavering peace. The air here is warm, sweet, and filled with the delicate and fragrant scent of the blue lotus flower and of 1,000 other blossoms that have no name in the mortal world. The light is the light of a perfect and eternal afternoon, a soft, golden and benevolent glow that casts no harsh shadows, a light that warms but does not burn. The sky above is a high, vast and flawless dome of the deepest and most serene turquoise. a sky that has never and will never know a single grey cloud. This is the land of Aru, the field of reeds, and it is a perfect and idealized reflection of the beautiful and fertile black land of the Egypt that the soul has left behind. A great and celestial river, a perfect and placid mirror of the earthly Nile, flows in a slow, majestic and silent current through the heart of this landscape. Its water is not the muddy brown of the earthly flood, but a crystalline and impossible blue, so clear and so pure that you can see the smooth white pebbles that lie on its bed, and stretching out from the banks of this silent and beautiful river are the fields. They are not the fields of hard and patient labour. They are the fields of an eternal and effortless abundance. Imagine vast and endless fields of the most magnificent barley and wheat, the stalks taller than a man, their heads so heavy and so full of the most perfect golden grain that they bow in a state of gentle and constant reverence. A soft and almost imperceptible breeze, the very breath of the gods, moves through these fields, creating slow, hypnotic and shimmering waves of gold that roll and recede in a silent and beautiful endless dance. Here, in this place of perfect peace, the soul of the Pharaoh finds that it is not alone. It is reunited with all those it has loved and lost. The soul of his beloved queen is here, as beautiful and as serene as she was in life. The souls of his children are here, and of his parents, and of his most loyal and most trusted servants. They are all here, their forms young, healthy and perfect, their faces full of a quiet and gentle joy, their hearts filled with an eternal and uncomplicated love. And the life that the soul lives in this perfect and beautiful place is a life of the most simple, profound, and gentle pleasures. It is a life that is free from all worry, from all sickness, from all sorrow, and from all death. Let us imagine the soul of the king now living out his perfect and eternal day. In the morning he boards a small and graceful skiff, its sail a pure and brilliant white, and he sails upon the calm blue and silent waters of the celestial Nile, the gentle breeze guiding his boat wherever he wishes to go. In the afternoon, he sits in the cool and pleasant shade of a great and ancient sycamore tree, a tree whose leaves whisper the secrets of the gods and rustle with the gentle breezes of eternity. And here, with his beloved queen, he plays a quiet and contemplative game of senet, the pieces moving across the intricately carved board in a slow and graceful dance that is a reflection of his own successful and well-ordered journey through the underworld. The ivory and ebony tokens slide effortlessly, each placement a thoughtful decision, each turn a peaceful moment shared between them, illuminated by the soft golden light filtering through the branches. And in the evening, as the sun dips below the horizon in a spectacular display of crimson and gold, he walks through the great golden fields of wheat, their endless expanse stretching towards a perpetually vibrant sky. His hand gently brushes against the heavy, ripe ears of grain, a tactile connection to the fertile abundance that surrounds him, his heart filled with a deep and quiet and profound sense of contentment. The harvest here is endless, the abundance is eternal, a continuous cycle of growth and plenty. There is no hunger here, there is no want, no shadow of scarcity to dim the radiant peace. There is only the simple, beautiful and profound joy of a perfect and harmonious existence, a timeless serenity that permeates every fibre of this blessed land. He breathes in the sweet earthy scent of the grain, a fragrance that speaks of life and prosperity, and gazes at the distant shimmering waters of the celestial Nile, which flows forever through this tranquil realm, nourishing all that is good and true. This is the final destination. This is the great and beautiful promise that was at the very heart of the entire magnificent and complex Egyptian civilization. This was the reason for the Great Pyramids, for the silent, magical hieroglyphs, for the long and sacred sleep of mummification. It was all for this. It was all for the chance to arrive in this place of a simple, gentle, and everlasting peace, to live forever in a perfect and unchanging dream of a beautiful and benevolent world. Let us now, with a final, gentle thought, allow this beautiful and serene vision of the field of reeds to slowly and softly fade. Let the golden light soften. Let the silent blue river dissolve into a gentle mist. The story is now over. The soul of the Pharaoh has found its home, and the great and epic journey is complete. We now drift back from that distant and beautiful paradise, back through the long and silent corridors of time, to the quiet and gentle stillness of the present moment. The great kingdom of the pharaohs, with its magnificent temples and its towering pyramids, has long since turned to dust and to memory. The great and sacred river Nile still flows, but the gods who were once said to live within its waters are now silent. The beautiful and magical language of the hieroglyphs is no longer spoken, its secrets known only to a few patient scholars. The great civilization is gone, but its most powerful and most beautiful creation has endured. For the deep and unwavering and profoundly hopeful dream of a peaceful and eternal afterlife, a paradise like the field of reeds, is a dream that has never truly vanished from the world. It has become an echo, a beautiful and gentle whisper that still resonates from the painted walls of the ancient silent tombs. It is a whisper on a sarcophagus, a quiet and reassuring promise that is carried to us across the vast and silent ocean of 4,000 years. It is a story that tells us that order can be found in the midst of chaos, that a path of light can be found through the deepest darkness, and that a state of perfect and gentle peace is the ultimate and most beautiful destination of all. The story of the Egyptian afterlife is the great and final gift of the pharaohs, a timeless and magnificent legend that has itself become a house of eternity, a quiet and beautiful sanctuary for the weary and for the hopeful heart. And so, the journey into the secrets of ancient Egypt, of its pharaohs and its beautiful and hopeful vision of the afterlife, comes to its peaceful and final end. The tale of the great and sacred river, of the silent waiting tombs, and of the soul's long and triumphant journey to a paradise of eternal peace now fades back into the deep and quiet sands of time. Just as the soul of the Pharaoh has now found its final and perfect rest in the golden, silent harmony of the field of reeds, may you now allow yourself to drift into your own deep and profoundly restorative slumber. The final gateway has been opened, and the great and sacred journey is now complete. May you carry the feeling of the deep, quiet peace of the tomb, and the gentle golden light of the eternal fields with you into your own silent and beautiful kingdom of dreams. Thank you for joining us on this journey into the heart of an ancient and beautiful mystery. If these whispered legends of a timeless world have soothed your spirit, you can help other weary souls discover this place of peace by subscribing and activating the notification bell. Your gentle support ensures that more ancient dreams can be remembered here each and every week. Until the next story calls to you from the silent pages of the past, may your slumber be deep, your dreams be peaceful, and your rest be absolute. Sleep well,